Hey babe, welcome to Baseball for Girls, where baseball meets soft girl energy. I'm Shaughnessy, and here we do baseball with heart, humanity, and a little humor. So, whether you're brand new to the game or deep in your baseball era, you're in the right place. So grab something cozy and settle in, and let's get into today's episode. Let's play ball. Hey babes, welcome back to another episode of Baseball for Girls. Today I have another tiny baseball lesson for you, and I will be explaining the different positions that are in baseball. So this was going to be the first episode for a new mini series that's going to go through all the different positions. And today we'll just have a general overview just to get started, and then I'll have more episodes that are going to be more of a deep dive into each position. So when I first started watching baseball, I had a general idea of like all the different positions, but I really didn't know like what the specific jobs of each position was, other than just to, catch the ball and throw the ball. I don't know. And so I think that having a better idea of what each position is doing allows you to, one, better understand the game, but also allows you to have a favorite position. And that is what is going to connect you to the game even more. So I just wanted to make this a super beginner friendly guide to baseball positions and not get super technical. So today we're going to go over what each position does, the general vibe of that position, what to notice when you're watching, and the kind of like the personality that each position kind of has. So, if baseball has ever felt like a bunch of people just kind of like standing around in the middle of a field, this episode is for you. All right, so we're going to start with the big picture. When we're looking at a baseball field during a game, there are 9 defensive positions on the field at one time. And just as a side note, we know that defense are the players that are on the field, while offense are the batters that are coming up to plate. So we are talking about the 9 defensive positions in baseball. So the players are kind of split into these different kinds of groups. So we have the pitcher, the catcher, the infield positions, and then outfield positions. So the infield is, like the dirt area, kind of closer to the pitcher, while the outfield is the grassy area that's kind of further back. So we're going to start with the pitcher. I feel like that's an obvious place to start. So we know the pitcher is the guy that is just throwing the ball to the batter, but really the pitcher is controlling the entire emotional atmosphere of the game, because if the pitcher is dominant, the stadium kind of calms down. But if the pitcher is struggling, it makes everyone super anxious. Pitchers are also highly specialized. Some of them throw like really fast, and they're known for that. I'm thinking of Jacob Misiorowski right now. He's like the hottest starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. He has so many games where he's thrown more than 10 pitches over 100 miles per hour. Ridiculous. But some other pitchers are more about movement. Some are more on strategy. Some pitchers are called like contact pitchers, where they are throwing so that the batter does hit the ball and gets out in a different way. So there are different kinds of pitchers, and that's why baseball fans talk about them constantly, because they influence the game so much and they have so many different kinds of ways to play. So pitchers are also kind of divided into 3 groups. So we have starting pitchers and relief pitchers, which is then divided into just a relief pitcher versus a closing pitcher. So the starter obviously begins the game, and relievers come in later. And then the closer is the one who finishes the game. So the relievers are the pitchers that are in the bullpen. So if you ever hear like the bullpen blew it, that just means that the relief pitchers really struggled and gave up the lead somehow. The next position is the catcher. So we know the catcher is behind home plate, and catchers are actually like the therapists, the like manager, like bodyguard. Like they are really important for maintaining the general atmosphere of the defensive field. They are catching every pitch. They are communicating with the pitcher constantly. They call pitches, which just means that they are telling the pitcher what pitch to throw. They also have to watch any runners that are on base, and they have to protect home plate. So they are involved with literally every aspect of the game. And they're like squatting for like 3 hours, which honestly feels like completely ridiculous. So catchers are actually really considered to be very smart players because they have to think strategically literally the entire game. So next time you're watching baseball, maybe pay attention to the catcher and see how they are really directing how the game is going because honestly, they're quietly running the entire game. And then we have the infield positions. So there are 4 infield positions: first base, second base, shortstop, and third base. And each one of them has a very different vibe. So the first base is the position where a lot of throws end up because typically after a batter hits the ball, the fielder is going to throw it to the first base in order to get that batter out. So the first baseman has to have really good hands, really good flexibility, like being able to stretch to catch the ball while also keeping a foot on first base. And they basically have to be aware of the game the entire time. So first base is really like a reliable anchor kind of energy. They are expected to catch every single ball that comes their way. Then the second baseman, they are usually quick and like agile. So for this position, they have to be quick at turning a double play, so getting multiple runners out at once. They have to have really quick reactions and they cover a lot of ground. Imagine the distance between first base and second base and third base. Granted, between second and third is a shortstop, but I'll get to that in a second. But the second baseman has to be very scrappy and like really athletic. So they're kind of like chaotic because they have to do so much, but like chaotic good, you know? And then moving on to the shortstop. So shortstop is considered to be one of the hardest defensive positions because they also have to cover a lot of ground and make really athletic plays. Like a lot of the coolest like defensive highlights are going to come from the shortstops. They are also typically like the star. They are usually really well known. Kids always want to be the shortstop when they grow up or in little league. It's a very popular position because of how good you have to be in order to play it. And then for the third baseman, so third base is typically called the hot corner. And that's because if a ball gets hit towards third base, it's typically going very fast off the bat. I'm talking like 100 miles per hour, just straight at the third baseman. So the third baseman has to be really quick and has to have strong arms because if that 100 miles per hour ball gets past him, that means it's going to probably go all the way towards the wall and that's going to do some damage potentially. So it's actually a pretty important position for those kinds of moments. And then we have the outfield. So that's made up of left field, center field, and right field. And just to orient us, left field is towards the third baseman, while the right field is towards the first baseman. And then center is, I guess, closer to second baseman. So these players cover the huge grassy area that's, behind the diamond. And their job is really just to like not let the ball get past them. They don't want the ball to touch the wall or go over the wall, because that would potentially be a home run or at least a ground rule double. And a ground rule double is just when a ball bounces from the grass and into the stands. So then the outfielder is not able to actually get the ball because it kind of just disappeared. That's just a ground rule double. So that way, the runner can't just keep running all the way around just because the ball disappeared. So they are trying to prevent those kinds of things from happening. And so the center fielder typically covers the most ground. They are often extremely fast and very athletic. They are also considered to be the captain of the outfield, and they usually call off other outfielders for catches. So if there's multiple outfielders that are running towards a ball, the outfielders have to defer to the center fielder. He will always take priority and will tell you whether or not to catch the ball. And then for left and right field, so these corner outfielders still need to be super speedy and strong for defense, but they also have to have very strong throwing arms because they are throwing from a very far distance. So they need to be super quick, throw really fast, and make the plays to be truly effective. Outfielders also produce some of the prettiest kind of moments in baseball. They are also like most often in the baseball highlights because they are usually the ones that are doing the diving catches. They are jumping in the air, hitting walls, and they're doing dramatic home run robberies. They are the ones that are creating baseball cinema. Okay, so now that you have a general idea of all the positions, the next time you're watching a game, just pick one position to pay attention to for that game, or maybe just for one inning, and really just notice what that position is doing and start to really get a feel for what those positions are bringing to the game. And really, that is how baseball will really start to click. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to give you one little baseball thing that used to confuse me, and that is that every position has a number. These numbers are used as a shorthand in order to record plays. So the pitcher is position 1, the catcher is position 2, first base is position 3, second base is position 4, third base is position 5, and then shortstop is position 6. Then the left field is position 7, center field is position 8, and then right field is position 9. So if you ever hear them say like a 6-4-3 double play, that means the shortstop, position 6, threw the ball to the second baseman, position 4, and then the second baseman threw the ball to the first baseman, so position 3. And the reason it's a double play is typically because there are 2 runners, and one of the runners was at second base, and the other runner was trying to get to first base. So when the shortstop, position 6, throws it to the second baseman, position 4, that gets that runner out. So that is the first out. And then when the second baseman, position 4, throws the ball to the first baseman, position 3, that gets out the runner that was trying to get to first base. So that will be the second out. And that is a 6-4-3 double play. So basically, we use these numbers in baseball as kind of like a little secret code, but obviously you don't really need to memorize it. But just when you hear those kinds of numbers in context, just know that it's related to the positions. It took me a while, and honestly, sometimes I still write it down. to help me remember, because it can take a while to memorize something like that. But honestly, 643 is the one you're going to hear the most. And sometimes when they're like, oh, it was a 5-3-1 or something, I'm like, all right, who did what now? And so you don't really need to memorize everything. Just being able to recognize what the announcers are talking about will take you a long way. Okay, so one of the coolest things about baseball is that every position kind of feels important in a different way. So some of these positions are super flashy, like a shortstop. Some are more subtle, like maybe like the right fielder. Some are more leadership roles, like the center fielder. Some are more chaos controls, like third and second baseman. So all of them come together to create the rhythm of the game. And once you start recognizing the position, baseball suddenly stops looking random and you actually start to see the structure underneath everything. And that's when it really becomes fun and enjoyable. So hopefully this helped make baseball feel a little less intimidating and a little more familiar. And like I mentioned, you really don't need to memorize everything, especially immediately, but just getting an idea of how things work is really going to help you understand it in the long run, because baseball is really one of those things that slowly unfolds the more time you spend with it. And that is why I love it so much. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for hanging out with me in the softest corner of sports media. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, go ahead and share it with someone else who doesn't know anything about baseball and give them a quick, tiny baseball lesson. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Oh my gosh, wait. So, well, hey babes, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Baseball for Girls. I probably forgot to plug the things that I'm doing, including my Instagram. So I just wanted to come back here and plug all my little things really quick. So my Instagram is baseball4girls_. And I just kind of post on there whenever I upload a new episode. I also have a baseball score tracker. It has about 40 weeks in it, and it has like some notes sections so that you can also keep track of games throughout the week. I use it for Major League Baseball games, but you can also use it for minor league games, your kids' games, your friends that are playing baseball, whatever. It's really just a nice way to keep track of all the games and the scores from each game, especially since baseball is typically played in series. So you should check that out. It's just called Baseball Score Log, and it can be found on Amazon, and it's only $9.99. I also include how I personally keep track of games as a little bit of an instruction guide on the first couple of pages, so you can keep score like the same way that I do. Also, I am in the process of writing a ebook. So it'll be a Baseball for Beginners ebook that I have been working on for the past couple of weeks. It'll just kind of walk through the rules of the game, how to watch it for the first time, and just give you a general idea for how to understand baseball from a very, very basic perspective. So I'll definitely let y'all know whenever that is available. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.